Welcome to another episode of the Kick and Cover podcast. This will be episode 4 with Coach Rodger Horton, the associate head football coach at Hughes High School in Cincinnati. Coach, how you doing?
I'm well, man. Enjoying my time away from the game.
Good to hear, Coach. Good to hear. I'm glad to hear you're well. Me and Coach met, what is like March or April. We did a little special team. We sat on a special teams day together, and we kind of kept communication back and forth since then. And they're doing some good things down there at Hughes, rebuilding that program. And kind of what we're going to talk today about is corner kick left. Me and Raj actually, I think I sent him, what was it, a diagram of OSU running it?
Yeah.
Something like that. Was that right? Yeah.
Yep. It actually is in there. I want to say it was in their national championship game that you sent it to me. It's something that it's funny because we were talking at the time that it was instituted. It was Coach Kerry Combs, who's from Cincinnati. Actually, the neighborhood that I live in is where the high school that he coached at and was the principal at, Coleraine. But yeah, he helped institute it there, and you shared it with me, just a diagram, because it's something that we always wanted to kind of put in and kind of give us an edge and help our defense out a little bit by pinning our opponents deep.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember we were all talking like punt and kickoff, kind of scheming up some ideas and looking at stuff, and you were, like I said, you were looking at stuff, and I was like, I saved that somewhere. I just couldn't remember where, and then I just went through the 8,000 files that I have hidden somewhere, and so yeah, I mean, it's a good little. If you have a kicker that can pop it in a corner, I mean, it's a good little scheme and kind of build off that. So let's start with that. You, like I said, it's kick corner left. I mean, for anybody that special teams listen to, it's not rocket science. You're pinning somebody in deep left corner. Now, did you go 4x6 with it, 5x5? How did you guys align?
So we go, 4x6. So it's 4. If we're facing our opponent, it's 4 on our left, 6 on our right.
Okay.
And I know you were talking earlier. This is a good concept to use if you don't have a strong keeper that can get it into the end zone and create a touchback for you. So ideally, if you can get a guy that can get it to about the 15 or the 10, this works out good for you.
Good. Now, out of curiosity, how much did you guys space out those guys on kickoff? Because I've seen some of those 4x6s where that 6 guy doesn't pass the hash. Is that about where you had them, or did you have them a little wider?
Yeah, the 6 guy is running right down the middle of the numbers. He's the last safety, okay. So he's just running right down the middle of the numbers. Okay. That's where he's at.
Okay, good. And so where did you guys average kicking it to, just out of curiosity?
So, like I was saying, our guy was getting it to about the 15 to the 20, because, like I said, we're a school, we're inner city school where we don't have a soccer program. So most of the times the kicker that we have or the punter we have is just he can do it naturally as an athlete. So teaching where it's all about positioning, and also too about just make sure he's lining up on the. We always line up on the left hash and just have him kick it that way. Ideally, we want him to keep it in between the hash and the boundary, and the guys pretty much can do it. Because we don't have a soccer player or a guy that's been trained up as a kicker, so it's a lot of coaching.
Oh, I get you, Coach. And that's kind of what we started. We didn't necessarily corner kick it, but we pretty much sideline kicked it the last 2-3 games this year. And I had a kicker that could get it pretty much where I wanted most of the time. He wasn't going to kick it out of the end zone. I think he had 1 touchback all year, and that's mostly off a bounce. It landed on the 6, and they didn't field it, and it rolled. So, I mean, I'll take that all day long.
Of course, that's a win.
Yeah. Hey, you don't want to field the ball, it rolls the end zone? Thank you.
You're right.
But I mean, we pretty much just started kicking to our sideline, and he kicked in good spots and had some good cover guys, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with this next. What were your kind of coaching points for the 4-man side? What did you kind of tell them lane wise and how aggressive to be? What was your coaching points there?
Well, our biggest thing was avoiding their front line. Because we wanted to make sure we timed it up to when the guy was catching it or receiving it, that we were avoiding that first line and taking it on that second wave of defenders, defeating him and getting to the ball. We teach kickoff team as a want to, and I think that's all special teams. You got to come from that particular mindset, and it's playing for your brothers, and it's wanting to make the play. Sometimes guys at high school football, they get caught up in want to put, light the scoreboard up or get their name in the newspaper. But we need dudes that can do the little things. And little things like that, creating field position for us on defense, it's critical. So it's creating that mindset and understanding that your job is just as important to the guys that score the touchdowns or even keep the points off the board.
Okay. And then what about your back six and their coaching points? Obviously, it's a little different. You're going to the ball let me rephrase that. You're attacking.
The front side's attacking. The four are attacking.
Yeah.
The back side, the six, they're more about lane integrity and not letting anybody get across their face. And we talk about getting across their face is by getting to obviously, if they can get to their left side, which would be our right side. So not getting beat across your face and keeping everything from the far hash in. We don't want anything outside of that far hash.
Yeah. And then was your kicker your only safety on that, or did you have another guy fold over?
So the kicker was number 5. So we had a safety at 5, which was the kicker. And then number 11, or what we called him number 10. Let me get it right. Number 5 was a person. 6, we just had K. So 6 was the kicker. And then number 10 was the last guy that runs down the middle of the numbers. And he was the safety. So we've had dual safeties.
Let's start with pro. What were the biggest pros you guys had with it this year overall, and kind of teaching it and kind of what you saw on the field? Obviously, you forced people in a corner, but what were the biggest pros to implementing the system for your school?
Well, here's the thing. It didn't take a lot of additional coaching time or planning time. I guess we were blessed in a situation where down in Cincinnati, particularly Cincinnati Public Schools, we didn't get a chance to begin play week 1. So emphasizing, the little things like special teams, we got a little bit more practice time and rolling it out. And the first thing I had to do was, it sounded good coming from me, but being able to show some of those guys some of the cut-ups using YouTube of Ohio State, their kickoff, and, Ohio State's a big program, a big brand. So if they see guys that are above them that are doing it and winning and being successful, it's an easier sell on a coach to implement it. One of the good things, too, is, some of the kids, they're diehard Ohio State fans. And if those guys are, running down, we call it with their hair on fire, trying to make plays, then they want to emulate what they see their peers doing. And people that they see that are successful, they want to do that, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then did you guys have any cons? Did you kind of dealt with it as the season went on? Anybody try to attack it a certain way? Do you see any weaknesses with it that kind of caused you some problems?
I honestly didn't see it, but, no disrespect to anybody in my league, but I don't think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on the third. I call it the third phase. Obviously, we all do, but special teams planning. But it's critical. If you want to have a well-rounded team, if you want to try to create opportunities for success in all phases of the game and give your kids the best opportunity to be successful, then you got to plan for special teams. Now, we look to see if there was a dynamic returner or something like that. Obviously, try to keep away from him. But I don't think a lot of people in our league devote film time to kickoff and kickoff return. So if you're not going to do it, I'm definitely going to do it and create an advantage for my team.
Yeah. Now, if they would have had that dynamic turn, you guys going to squib it a little bit more, or how?
Yeah, I think we would have squibbed it more to a traditional 5-on-5, and try to go from the outside in, making sure that way. But the corner worked for us. Not too many people ran returns, or not too many people ran deep returns on us, or nobody ran any gimmicks. Yeah. One of the things with having that backside 6. It protects against, the return, or excuse me, the reverses, protects against the throwback across to the other side because the other side is so heavy. Yeah. But you got to have some dogs on the front side. You got to have some guys that want to run down and make tackles. Those first 4 got to be secure tackle people. But I'm not talking about kill shots, but wrapping guys up and getting them to the ground.
Now, speaking of dogs to that side of the field, let's talk about personnel real quick, because I think that's something that's kind of overlooked or not necessarily talked about as much as it should be. Let's start with that front forward. Obviously, they need to be solid tacklers, very efficient at what they do. But what other traits were you looking for? Maybe position groups. What were you looking for those front four guys in terms of personnel?
Well, I'll tell you this: building the whole squad out, it starts with number one. Number one has to be a fast tackler. And I was lucky, he was a sophomore kid, ended up making all district first team, played some safety for me too, wasn't afraid to play, special teams because he was a dude. And, some dudes don't like to play special teams because dudes play offense or defense. They don't play special teams. But, that commitment and that will to win in all phases, it really helped out. But the fact that he was a solid dude, he's a track dude. Most track dudes, we just think they run fast past you. They're not really physical. But Corinthian really could fly down there and go make people go night-night.
Go night-night. All right. So, again, one has to be a fast tackler. What about 2, 3, and 4, Coach?
2, 3, and 4, they don't have to be blazers like Corinthian. I mean, Corinthian just has, God's gift, he's being a track guy. But they have to be fairly fast athletes. Those guys are between, we run a 4-2-5. So those are our bandit spur type guys, those guys that are in between linebackers, in between safeties, not necessarily corner cover dudes. But that's what makes up 2, 3, and 4. Those are the type of kids that you need to make that scheme work.
I get you there, Coach. And then kind of going back to your fast tackler, we had a kid this year, like I said, we started sideline kicking towards the end, and we had one of our sophomore. Is he a sophomore? I can't remember if he's a sophomore or junior. I want to say he's a sophomore. He kind of just figured it out. Against Greenville, he had, I think, 4 or 5 tackles on kickoff. He just figured it out. Busting his butt down there, nobody blocked him. I think he had another 1 or 2 when we played Beaver Creek. So he kind of just figured it out. The ball's right there, void here, make the yeah, I'm with you there. This fast kind of tacklers that can kind of just pick it up. And then as we progress across the field, what about, let's just start with 5, 6, 7, because obviously it spans after you go out there.
5, 6, and 7, those are the linebacker dudes. I'll get back to that, but I wanted to say too is on that first kick, it's filling out what the kickoff return is going to do. Are they going to double team you? Are they looking to just single block? It's filling that out. Is this guy going to be loafing? Is he going to get back into his block and try to fire it out short? If he just blatantly just run past him? And that's what it's about, filling it out on that first kick and then using that intel and that data as the game goes on. Obviously, we want to kick to them more than they kick to us. So that's the objective. But getting back to numbers, you were talking about numbers 6 through 10, or which numbers?
Yeah, well, start with 5, 6, 7, but you can kind of group that.
5, 6, and 7 are linebackers.
Okay.
They're not the fastest dudes, but like I said, they can tackle. They're not afraid of physicality when they're faced with it. Obviously, with that first and second line getting to you, and they can get off blocks. One of the things about being successful about being on a kickoff team is being able to get off blocks and not staying blocked. I always talk about the want to. Those are the dudes that I want to roll with. And believe it or not, sometimes, we had to make adjustments as we went week to week because those guys didn't uphold their end of the deal where, we got 1 through 4 screaming down there. You got 10, 9, and 8 holding their own on the back end. And you got the middle because they can be vulnerable if they get a cutback and you're getting blocked.
Yeah, exactly, Coach. And then I think 8. What about 8 and 9? 10's a whole different concept of 10 being your safety.
Yeah, 8 and 9 are once again they're back to those are the corner kids. They can see things. They kind of see it develop as they go down the field. If the flow's coming their way, they can avoid blocks and still get to the ball. Everybody's key is the returner's outside shoulder. So making sure the returner's outside shoulder is staying north and south and not being able to go running towards you. We want him going north and south. That way he's running right into 1 through 4. If he's able to turn his shoulders, that creates opportunities for cutbacks, that creates looks for reverses and things of that nature. We want to keep that returner's shoulders parallel, meaning that he's going upfield and not trying to find, different type of escape holes. by cutting back across the grain.
All
So
right.
that's their key, and making sure that if the ball carries in their area, then they're able to secure the tackle. Not necessarily, I'm a big hawk tackling fan. I talk, eat, drink, sleep, hawk tackling. That's all we talk about. And I think that's what allows kids to want to play kickoff team and for me, because I'm not looking for a knockout artist. I just want you to try to get the guy to the ground in the safest manner.
Okay. And then number 10, your safety. What are you kind of looking for in that kid?
He needs to be fast also. And like I said, getting everything to his help, being that strong, and he sets that edge, not letting anybody get outside of him. And once again, he can't get blocked either. You know, he's always the last person per se to the ball, but he's finishing, make sure if he needs to, he finishes up. But his principle is he should never cross the center of the field unless, you know, the front side of the kickoff team is in danger. But he's just there to kind of set that edge, so to speak.
Okay. No, that's good, Coach. Kind of in terms of lane integrity, and we hit on that a little bit, but at what point do you tell your kids to start bending to the ball? What, especially that 5, 6, 7, 8 side? Like, what is the coaching point there for, okay, we have our lane, and now the ball's in the corner. What point do we start curving so we don't overdo it, but at the same time we don't underdo it, and we're in a good position?
Right. So adult term, we'll say on the ascend as the ball is going up, they're staying in their lane and getting down the field. And then on the descent, I tell the kids, when the ball's coming down, you see the returner getting ready to catch the ball. That's when you want to begin to bend it to take all running options away from them and to keep you north-south.
Okay. Now,
so as the ball's coming down.
That's a good coaching point there, Coach.
Yeah.
And then kind of going from there, you talked a little bit briefly at the beginning about install. And I want to kind of swing back to that real quick because you talked about showing them film, okay, and obviously the simplicity of this, and that's part of the appeal towards it. But from an install perspective, did you go over it? I mean, obviously we have massive coverage restrictions this year, and I mean, you guys dealt with it probably more than anybody with how late you guys started, you in Columbus City.
Mm-hmm.
But did you start in the classroom? Did you do it through a Zoom meet? And then did you walk through it on the field? Did you go straight into it? How was your install process for installing this?
So I work with a great head coach. Chris Mobley is a guy that is really easy to work with. And if he sees something that's going to be successful, it gives you the opportunity to teach it and rep it. And so making sure that I had time in a practice plan, our offensive coordinator was online with it, our defense coordinator was on with it. And here's the thing. I love the fact that, special teams guys, it wasn't just me. And those guys would just kind of walk to the corner. They didn't do that. You would see them coaching up their positions and also helping with making sure that people were properly lined up, making sure that people were taking their proper steps. It's a total team effort. Like, even though I'm the coordinator, I couldn't do it without them because obviously, teaching so many kids, most of the times when you got a receiver group, you got maybe 5 or 6 kids, or you got a running back group, you got maybe 4 or 5 kids. But when you're dealing with, kickoff, return, and punt, you're dealing with, 11, sometimes 13 kids at a time. So having those extra hands and them understanding the teaching points and what we were trying to accomplish really helped out. So I can't take the credit at all. It's really a whole staff effort and understanding how important this is to the game too, if we're really trying to win in all aspects of the game.
Okay. Now, last real question I have for you regarding the kickoff aspect is, how do you practice it? Now when I say that is, everybody's a little different. I've been in some schools where they literally line up in their 4x6 and just go practice it. Some will do kickoff drills to kind of prep their kids first and then go into it. What is that process like for you from July through the season?
So when we initially do it, see, I'm blessed. On our staff, we have a gamut of ages. So we got some new age coaches, and then we got some old school coaches. So one of our offense coordinator, who's Barry Pettyjohn, was able to pull out some of the stuff that they were doing in the early 90s and early 2000s that kind of showed me. One of the things is we call it shoot the chickens. where we teach the kids to avoid that first wave and then gather up and make the tackle. So using those particular drills. So that's how we do it. And here's the thing. We were doing that as a way of conditioning because, they were doing, some 35 to 40-yard sprints. So using that as conditioning. So that's what we were doing. I would probably say since we didn't start off in playing in August, we were doing that in August. Then once we began to get our schedule finalized, then we started doing the walkthrough stuff. We never did any quote unquote live where the kids came down 11 on 11 or anything like that. Our numbers just don't allow us to do it. Unfortunately, we only have 26 kids on our roster, even though we had a roster of 40 as the season dwindled down. We only had like 26. So we never did live kickoff return and kickoff. So we started that way in August. And then as they learned it that way, we were able to utilize the field markings and things of that nature and landmarks on the field to understand their positioning and where they needed to be in order to make critical plays. So we did it that way. And then obviously we progressed to where the kids were just kicking off and we just had 2 returners and then they were making the tackle. We tagged off. We never tackled. We tagged off. But one thing that we did do, we were blessed to receive an MVP sprint. So we got an MVP sprint tackle dummy. So before we were actually putting return guys back there and they were catching it, I would have the team kick off and then the return dummy would come up and then they would come and simulate tackling the return guy using the MVP tackle dummy. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome, Coach.
Yeah.
It's nice when you get some stuff like that you can kind of get to use it.
Yeah, toys and gizmos.
Yeah. Heck, you got to take advantage of that anytime. No, that's good, Coach. Now, how much, and some people emphasize this and some people don't. I thought about this while you were talking and listening to you. How much did you talk, avoid, or did you, again, everybody's a little different on how they teach stuff. Did you teach avoid kick side, avoid away side when you were teaching them to avoid, or did you just kind of teach them to avoid butt side?
Well, yeah, here's the thing. It's avoided across the board. So it's kick side and backside. You want to be one of the first people down there. Now, the backside is not as important, but we don't want them to change the mentality in particular if say for 1 week, and it never had to happen. Say you move from position number 5 to position number 3. We don't want your mindset to change. So that's why we didn't necessarily change or vary the way that we did it, because we want you to have the same mindset, because we don't want to create opportunities where it's easy for kids to loaf or feel like they can take the playoff, but somebody else is going to take care of it.
Okay.
So we never changed our mindset or our teaching point.
Okay. No, that's good, Coach. Is there anything I missed? Anything you wanted to hit on for your kick corner?
No. Like I said, I like it. And here's the thing. It's all about the personnel. If we get a kicker that can keep it deep, then obviously it's something we can go away from.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The kids that are coming back, because we don't have a lot of seniors graduate, we only have 6. So it's something that the kids already know and already had success with. So since that's the way it's going to be, as long as our opponents, it matches up, it's something that we can be successful using against our opponents, is something that we'll keep. If not, then obviously we'll evolve as football teams are supposed to and make adjustments. But it's something that's probably going to be here to stay in the Hughes program for a long time.
Now, I do have one more question before we wrap up. I was just thinking more things. You did do kick corner left this year. Is there any motivation or idea to expand it to be able to kick corner left and kick corner right? Or is it kind of just keep it left, continue to get really good at it?
Well, it's keep it left until we get good on it. But like I said, it really just depends on how the dynamic that return guy is. If they got 2 stud guys that are back there and then they got a short guy, then obviously it's something that we may need to look at. But ideally, if we can keep it away, it's keep away. If we can keep it away from one guy, then we'll do that. And we can continue to secure tackles and create net starting spots of around the 25, 26-yard lines and not getting kicks returned on us, then we're going to stick with it. The previous year, we got a couple kicks returned on us. This year we didn't get any kicks returned on us, and we didn't get anybody that started on the plus side of the 50. So we're happy with it.
That's awesome, Coach. Again, I appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit about what you guys are doing at Hughes. Like I said, you guys are doing a fantastic job down there and building that program. And like I said, I wish you guys nothing but success this offseason and next year. And I hope you guys stay healthy. And again, Coach's contact information will be in the bio if anybody wants to get a hold of him. Again, Coach Raj is fantastic. He gets back with you fairly quickly. Like I said, me and him have talked on and off since I think it was April. I could be wrong. It could be May. I don't know. This year's a blur. We talked about that a little bit before we started. It's just this year needs to just flip. Now I say that, and this could just become a really bad day to clip because that's the other thing I told him. I was watching somebody. Oh, I forget who it was. I was watching somebody talk on their like podcast or whatever from last year, and they're just like, "Well, I just want 2019 to end and 2020 to start." And I told Rodger like that clip has aged very badly. That is just, it's like 2019 probably wasn't that bad looking back on it if you're looking at that clip. So,
right.
Coach, again, thank you. And this was another episode of the Kick and Corner podcast. We will see you next time. So.
Go Big Red.